No one wanted to be with him because he had 7 children, until the housemaid said yes. Marcus Thompson woke up once again to the sound of pots clattering in the kitchen. It was the 3rd time that week the same thing had happened. He got out of bed with a heavy sigh, knowing exactly what he would find downstairs. The 8-year-old twins, Daniel and Christopher, were probably trying to make their own breakfast because he had overslept again. "Dad just can't keep up anymore," he murmured to himself as he descended the stairs of the wooden house he had built with his own hands 15 years ago. Back then, he had different dreams. Jennifer was pregnant with their first daughter, Emily Grace, and they planned for a big, happy family. He never imagined he would be raising 7 children alone. The kitchen was a complete mess. Daniel was trying to fry eggs while Christopher spilled milk on the floor. Little Lily, just 5 years old, was crying because she wanted to help, but no one would let her. The other 4 children came running down when they heard the noise. "What's all this commotion here?" Marcus asked, trying to stay calm. Emily Grace, 16 years old and the eldest, crossed her arms with a sulky look. "Dad, I told you I couldn't handle everyone by myself. You promised you'd hire someone to help." Marcus ran his hand through his graying hair. At 42, he felt like he was 60. 3 years since Jennifer had passed, and he still couldn't believe he was dealing with all this alone. The last 3 women he tried to date ran away as soon as they found out about the children. The last one didn't even wait to get to know them properly. "All right, Emily, I'll put an ad out today," he said, wiping up the spilled milk. "But in the meantime, you all need to help me more." Nathan, 12 years old, rolled his eyes. "We always help, Dad, but there are a lot of us. And I have a test at school today." "Me too," said Ethan, 10 years old, "and I haven't done my math homework yet." Marcus looked at his 7 children scattered around the kitchen and felt his chest tighten. How did Jennifer make it look so easy? She ran that house like a conductor, and every child knew exactly what to do. Now everything was chaos, yelling, and confusion. "All right, I'll take you to school today. Emily, you stay home with the little ones, and I'll go into town to place the ad." Emily Grace sighed. "Dad, I have class too. I'm a junior in high school, remember? I have college entrance exams next year." Marcus sat at the kitchen table and put his head in his hands. How would he manage to work on the ranch, take care of the children, and handle everything else? The cattle needed milking, the pastures needed repairs, and there was a fence that had been broken since last week. "Daddy, are you sad?" asked Lily, climbing onto his lap with her little eyes full of tears. "No, sweetie, Daddy's just tired," he lied, hugging his youngest. He couldn't show despair to his children. They had already lost their mother. They couldn't see their father falling apart, too. That morning, after dropping the kids off at school and Lily at the neighbor Mrs. Dorothy's house, Marcus drove his old pickup truck into the town of St. John's Valley. The small town in rural Texas had only 15,000 residents, and everyone knew everyone. He knew people talked about his situation, about how hard it was to raise so many children alone. At the stationery store downtown, he wrote a simple ad. "Wanted, housemaid for home with large family. Preference given to someone with experience in childcare. Room and board provided plus salary to be discussed. Interested parties contact Marcus Thompson at St. Michael's Ranch." Mrs. Eleanor, the owner of the stationery store, read the ad over his shoulder. "7 children is a lot of responsibility, Marcus. Are you sure you'll find someone?" Marcus forced a smile. "I have to try, Mrs. Eleanor. I can't let Emily Grace take care of her siblings anymore. She has her own life." "That girl is an angel. She's been looking after the little ones like a little mother ever since Jennifer—" "Well, you know." Mrs. Eleanor lowered her voice gently. Marcus nodded silently. Everyone in town knew the story. Jennifer had left suddenly, without warning, without explanation. One day she was there, the next she was gone. She left only a note saying she couldn't do it anymore, that she needed to leave. No one knew where, and Marcus never heard from her again. "Have you tried the agencies in the big city?" asked Mrs. Eleanor as she pinned the ad to the bulletin board. "I've tried. Either they ask for too high a salary, or they don't want to live in the countryside. And when they find out how many children there are—" Marcus didn't finish the sentence. "I understand. Well, let's hope someone shows up. Your children deserve it." Marcus paid for the ad and left the stationery store with a heavy heart. Walking down the main street, he passed the church where he married Jennifer. He remembered the day she said she wanted a house full of children, that she dreamed of being a mother to a large family. Why then had she abandoned everything? At the supermarket, while buying groceries for the week, he ran into Mr. George, a neighboring farmer. "Hey, Marcus, how are the kids?" "Growing up too fast," Marcus replied, putting packages of rice in the cart. "I heard you're looking for a maid. Not easy, is it? Women these days don't want responsibility." Marcus chose not to respond. He didn't want to get into that subject with Mr. George, who had very firm opinions about how things should be. "You know, my friend knows a girl who was looking for work. Rachel, I think her name is. She was recently widowed, no children. Maybe she'd be interested." Marcus felt a glimmer of hope. "Does she live around here?" "In Green Valley, the neighboring town, but I heard she's looking for a change of scenery. I can get her contact info if you want." "I'd really appreciate it, Mr. George." On the way back home, Marcus felt a mix of hope and apprehension. What if another person gave up after seeing the reality of his home? What if the children didn't adjust? Emily Grace had already been through 3 failed attempts with aunts who promised to help but disappeared within days. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. When he got home, he found Mrs. Dorothy on the porch, holding Lily in her lap. The girl was crying. "Marcus, the little one hasn't stopped crying since you left. She keeps asking when Mommy is coming back." Marcus felt his heart break. Lily was very young when Jennifer left, but she still had confused memories of her mother. "Thank you for taking care of her, Mrs. Dorothy. I'll pick up the other children from school. Marcus, you really need help. You can't handle everything on your own." He picked up Lily, who immediately stopped crying and snuggled into his chest. "I know. I'm trying to find someone." That night, after all the children had gone to sleep, Marcus sat on the porch looking at the stars. It was the time of day when he missed Jennifer the most. They used to sit there together, planning the future, talking about the children. Now there was only silence and the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Emily Grace appeared on the porch, still in her pajamas. "Dad, can I talk to you?" "Of course, honey. Sit here." Emily Grace sat beside him with a serious expression on her face. "I heard you talking with Mrs. Dorothy today, about needing help. Emily, you're still a child. You shouldn't be worried about these things." "Dad, I'm 16, and I've been taking care of my siblings for 3 years. I'm not a child anymore." Her voice held a maturity that pained Marcus's heart. "I know, sweetheart, and forgive me for that. You should be thinking about boyfriends, about dances, about college entrance exams, not about diapers and baby bottles." Emily Grace was silent for a moment. "Dad, I don't mind helping. I love my siblings, but sometimes I need a mother too." Marcus felt his eyes fill with tears. "I know, my daughter, I know. When are you going to try dating again?" The question caught Marcus by surprise. "Emily Grace, it's not that simple." "Because of us?" Marcus sighed. "People get scared when they find out I have 7 children. They think it's too much responsibility." "Then they're not worth it anyway," Emily Grace said with the typical sincerity of a teenager. "Mom loved us. If someone can't love us too, they don't deserve to be part of our family." Marcus hugged his daughter, impressed by her wisdom. "You're right, sweetheart. You're always right. Dad, when you hire the housekeeper, promise you won't give up on her quickly. The little ones get attached and then they suffer when the person leaves." "I promise, Emily Grace. This time will be different." The next morning, Marcus was surprised by a knock on the door even before breakfast. It was Mr. George with a piece of paper in his hand and a smile on his face. "Marcus, I got Rachel's phone number. I spoke with her last night. She's interested but wants to talk to you first." Marcus took the paper with trembling hands. "Does she know about the children?" "I told her there are 7. She didn't seem scared." "Really?" Marcus could hardly believe it. "Really? She said she likes children and that she needs a new chance in life. Call her today. Marcus spent the rest of the morning nervous, putting off the call. What if it was another disappointment? What if she changed her mind as soon as she knew more details? Finally, at lunchtime, while the children were at school, he called the number. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was soft, with an accent he couldn't identify. "Hello, is this Rachel? This is Marcus Thompson. Mr. George gave me your number." "Ah, yes, about the housekeeper job." "That's right. You know there are 7 children, right?" There was a pause on the other end. Marcus held his breath. "Yes, he told me. Their ages—" Marcus sighed with relief. "The oldest is 16, Emily Grace. Then comes Nathan, who's 12. Ethan is 10. The twins Daniel and Christopher are 8. Then Sophia, who's 6. And the youngest Lily, who's 5. And their mother." Marcus hesitated. "She hasn't been with us for 3 years." "I see. I'm sorry." Do you have experience with children?" "Yes, I do. I've worked caring for a family with 4 children in Green Valley. And before that—" Rachel stopped, as if she didn't want to continue. "Before that, I lost a family myself. I think that's why I understand what you're going through." Marcus was silent for a moment, processing the information. "Would you like to come see the house? See if it's a good fit?" "I'd like that very much. When would be good for you?" "How about tomorrow? The children will be at school in the morning. It would be more peaceful for us to talk." "Perfect. Can you give me the address?" Marcus gave her directions to the ranch, feeling a mixture of hope and nervousness. After hanging up, he stared at the phone for a long time. Could this be the person who would finally be able to help him? Or would it be another disappointment? That night, during dinner, he told the children about the visit. "Dad, do you promise that this time it will work out?" asked Sophia, the 6-year-old, with big, hopeful eyes. "I promise we'll do our best, my doll." "What if she doesn't like us?" asked Daniel, one of the twins. "It's impossible not to like you," Marcus said, ruffling the boy's hair. "You are the best children in the world." Emily Grace looked at him with a worried expression. "Dad, what if she's nice? You won't fall for her right away, will you? Remember Jessica?" Marcus felt his face flush. Jessica had been the last woman he tried to date 2 months ago. She seemed perfect, beautiful, caring, said she loved children. But the first time she was alone with all 7 of them, she ran off and never came back. "Emily Grace, this time is different. She's not a girlfriend, she's an employee." "Dad, you always say it's different," said Nathan, the 12-year-old, "but you always end up liking the woman and she leaves." Marcus looked at his children around the table. Was he being selfish? Was he putting his need for companionship above their well-being? "Listen, kids, this time we'll think of you first, okay? If Rachel comes to work here, it's to help you, not to be my girlfriend." "Do you promise, Dad?" asked Lily. "I promise, my doll." But even making the promise, Marcus couldn't help wondering what Rachel would be like. From her voice, she seemed like a kind person, and the fact that she hadn't been scared off by the number of children was a good sign. The next morning, Marcus woke up earlier than usual. He showered, shaved carefully, and put on his best button-down shirt. Then he took the children to school, explaining that when they came back, they might meet the new employee. "Dad, you smell nice," observed Christopher, the other twin. "It's just because I took a shower, son." "But you always shower. Today is different." Marcus chose not to respond. Maybe he was overdoing the preparations, but he wanted to make a good impression. Returning at 10 in the morning, he heard the sound of a car coming up the dirt road that led to the ranch. He looked out the window and saw a blue Beetle parked in front of the house. Out of it came a woman with brown hair tied in a low bun, wearing a simple skirt and a white blouse. She looked at the house for a moment, took a deep breath, and walked to the porch. Marcus opened the door before she even knocked. "Rachel?" "Marcus. Nice to meet you." They greeted each other with a handshake. Marcus noticed her calloused hands, like someone used to hard work. Her eyes were brown, with a serious but not hostile expression. "Please, come in. Would you like some coffee?" "Thank you. I'd like that." Marcus led her to the kitchen, which he had cleaned with special care that morning. While making the coffee, he discreetly observed Rachel. She looked around the house attentively, noticing details like the children's drawings stuck on the refrigerator, the toys scattered in the corner of the living room, and the school backpacks hanging on the chair. "Big house," she commented. "It had to be. When my wife was here, we planned for a large family. I never imagined I'd be the only one taking care of everything." Rachel nodded silently. Marcus served the coffee and sat at the table with her. "Rachel, may I ask about your previous experience?" "Of course. I worked for 2 years for the Mitchell family in Green Valley. 4 children, around the same ages as yours. I left because they moved to Texas and I didn't want to go along." "And before that?" Rachel hesitated, stirring her coffee cup. "Before that, I had my own family." Marcus waited, sensing it was a delicate subject. "I lost my husband and my son in a car accident 4 years ago. Since then, I've been working taking care of other people's children." Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. "I'm sorry. You didn't have to share that if you weren't comfortable." "No, it's okay. I think it's important for you to know. I understand what it's like to raise children, and I also understand what it's like to lose family. Maybe that will help me take better care of your children." You don't think there are too many of them?" 7 children. Rachel gave a half smile, the first since she arrived. "Mr. Marcus, after you lose everything, there's no such thing as too much. There's only the opportunity to love again." Marcus felt something stir in his chest. There was a fortress in that woman, a peace he hadn't seen in a long time. "I'd like to be honest with you about how things are here," he said. "It's not easy. The children are still suffering from their mother's absence. Emily Grace, the oldest, has become a second mother to the little ones, but that's not fair to her. The boys sometimes get too rowdy. Lily still cries for her mother. And I admit that sometimes I don't know what to do anymore." Rachel listened to everything in silence, attentively. The working conditions would be these. You'd have your own room and bathroom upstairs, food included, obviously, a salary of 800 reais per month, time off on Sunday afternoons, and 1 weekly day off to take care of your things in town. The work would involve taking care of the house, preparing meals, and helping with the children. I take them to and from school myself, but sometimes I'd need your help." "That seems fair to me," said Rachel. "May I see the house?" Marcus took her on a tour of the house. He showed her the kitchen, the living room full of toys, the children's bedrooms, the bathroom they shared, and finally, the room that would be hers. It was simple but comfortable, with a single bed, a small wardrobe, and a window overlooking the fields. "It's perfect," said Rachel, looking out the window. "Are you sure? Don't you want to think about it a bit more?" Rachel turned to him with a determined expression. "Mr. Marcus, I have nothing left to think about. I need a job, you need help, and these children need care. When can I start?" Marcus could hardly believe it. You're sure? Don't you want to meet the children first?" "Of course I want to meet them, but I already know I'll stay." "How can you be so sure?" Rachel looked around the room one more time. "Because this house has love. I can feel it. It's messy, it's difficult, but there's love. And it's been a long time since I've felt that." Marcus felt his eyes fill with tears. "Well then, you can start today if you want. I pick up the children from school at 11:30. I'll get my things and be back before then." After Rachel left, Marcus sat on the porch trying to process what had happened. It seemed too good to be true. A woman who wasn't frightened by 7 children, who seemed genuinely interested in helping, who spoke about love as if she knew what it meant. Could it work this time? At 11 o'clock, Rachel returned with a small suitcase and a cardboard box. Marcus helped carry her things to her room. "Is that all?" he asked, surprised by the small amount of belongings. "When you lose everything, you learn to live with little," she replied simply. At 11:30, Marcus left to pick up the children from school. He was nervous. How would they react? Would they like Rachel? Could she handle all their energy? "Dad, is she here yet?" asked Emily Grace as soon as she got into the pickup truck. "Yes, she's settling into her room." "What's she like?" Nathan wanted to know. You'll meet her in a few minutes, but please behave, and no testing her limits on the first day." "We always behave," protested Ethan. Marcus looked in the rearview mirror and saw Daniel giving Christopher a smack. "Daniel, that's exactly what I'm talking about." When they got home, the children burst through the door like a hurricane, shouting and talking loudly. Marcus followed, trying to restore order. "Children, where are your manners?" Rachel appeared in the living room, and everyone fell silent immediately. She was wearing an apron over her clothes and had a serene expression on her face. "Hello, children. I'm Rachel." Emily Grace stepped forward, taking on her role as the oldest daughter. "Hello, Mrs. Rachel. I'm Emily Grace. Welcome to our home." "Thank you, Emily Grace. You must be the responsible one your father talked so much about." Emily Grace blushed at the compliment. One by one, the others introduced themselves. Nathan with his preteen shyness, Ethan more talkative, the twins trying to see who could speak louder, Sophia hiding behind Emily Grace, and Lily clinging to her father's leg. "How about you show Mrs. Rachel your rooms?" suggested Marcus. The kids got excited about the idea and started pulling Rachel up and down, wanting to show everything at once. She let herself be led with patience, asking questions about the toys, the drawings on the walls, the books. Marcus watched from afar, impressed by her naturalness. She didn't seem to be forcing interest, genuinely appearing curious about the children's lives. "Mrs. Rachel, do you know how to make chocolate cake?" asked Sophia, finally coming out from behind Emily Grace. "Yes, I do. It's my favorite. And you?" Sophia nodded vigorously. "Mommy used to make chocolate cake for my birthday." There was an uncomfortable silence. Marcus prepared to intervene, but Rachel knelt down to Sophia's height. "How lucky you were to have a mother who knew how to make chocolate cake. I bet she made it with lots of love." "She did. She even put little colored sprinkles on top." "She must have taught you all a lot about love," Rachel said simply. Sophia nodded, and Marcus realized that for the first time in a long while, someone had spoken about Jennifer naturally, without awkwardness or pity. At lunchtime, Rachel insisted on cooking. Marcus tried to protest, saying she could start working only the next day, but she shook her head. "Let me keep busy, it's good for me." She prepared a simple but tasty lunch: rice, beans, ground beef, and salad. The kids ate while praising everything, especially the twins, who were usually the pickiest eaters. "Mrs. Rachel, are you going to live here forever?" Lily suddenly asked. Everyone fell silent. It was the question everyone wanted to ask, but no one had the courage. Rachel stopped eating and looked at Lily seriously. "Lily, I can't promise forever, because life sometimes changes without warning. But I can promise that as long as you need me and I can be here, I will stay." "But you won't leave if we make a mess," the girl insisted. "Everyone makes a mess sometimes, Lily. I do too. What's important is that we know how to talk and respect each other." Marcus felt something ease in his chest. Rachel had answered the children's questions honestly, without making promises she might not be able to keep, but also without scaring them. After lunch, while the kids played in the backyard, Marcus helped Rachel wash the dishes. "They're great kids," she said, drying the plates. "Are you sure? You haven't seen them in hurricane mode yet?" Rachel smiled. "Happy kids make messes. It's when they're too quiet that we have to worry. You seem to understand a lot about children. My son was a very active child. I learned that energy is a sign of health." Marcus realized it was the first time she had mentioned her son in a more personal way. "May I ask how old he was?" 10 years old, the same age as Ethan. Marcus then understood why she had looked at Ethan with such affection during lunch. That must be hard. It is and it isn't. It hurts, of course. It always will. But it also reminds me that children are gifts we should take good care of. That afternoon, Marcus had to go check on a broken fence in the pasture. He left Rachel alone with the children for the first time, with a mix of nervousness and hope. When he returned 2 hours later, he found a scene he hadn't seen in 3 years. All 7 children sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, while Rachel moved among them helping those who needed it. "How did you get them to focus like this?" he asked, impressed. "I promised that whoever finished their homework first could help me make cookies for snack time." Marcus looked at the children bent over their notebooks. Emily Grace was helping Lily write her letters. Nathan was quietly doing math. Ethan was reading softly. The twins were comparing answers while whispering, and Sophia was drawing with total concentration. "Dad, look!" shouted Christopher, holding up his notebook. "I'm already done." "Well done, champ. Now you can help Mrs. Rachel." Marcus sat on the porch to watch through the window. Seeing his children like this, organized and calm, stirred something deep in his chest. How long had it been since he'd seen that peace in his home? When cookie time arrived, the kitchen became a controlled party. Rachel let each child help with one part. Some measured the flour, others cracked the eggs, others stirred the dough. The result was slightly crooked cookies with odd shapes, but made with so much love that they turned out delicious. "Dad, try one," said Lily, offering a somewhat misshapen, star-shaped cookie. Marcus took a bite and made an exaggerated face of pleasure. Best cookie of my life." The children laughed and ran to offer cookies to Rachel too, who accepted each one with the same enthusiasm. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. That night at bedtime, Marcus went from room to room saying goodnight to his children. In each room, he heard the same question. "Dad, is Mrs. Rachel really going to stay?" "Let's hope so," he'd answer, not wanting to create expectations that were too high. After all the children had fallen asleep, Marcus went down to the kitchen to get a glass of water. He found Rachel sitting at the table, sewing a button on one of the boys' school shirts. "You didn't have to do that today," he said, sitting at the table with her. "I don't mind. I like to feel useful." "Rachel, can I ask you a question?" "Of course. Why did you accept this job? I mean, a woman like you, with your experience, could work for smaller families with less complication." Rachel stopped sewing and looked directly into his eyes. "Marcus, can I be frank? Please. I was going crazy with loneliness. I've worked in houses where the employers barely spoke to me, where the children were at school all day, and I spent hours alone cleaning a house that never got dirty. This house has life, it has love, it has purpose." Marcus felt his chest warm with her words. "And besides," Rachel continued, "these children need someone. I can feel it. They're trying to be strong, but they carry a sadness. Maybe I can help." "Do you think they'll recover? Completely?" "Marcus, children are more resilient than we imagine. They just need to feel safe and loved. And they have that. They have a father who loves them very much. They have each other. They just need a little more stability. And you think you can provide that?" "I can try. I won't replace their mother, nor do I want to. But I can be a constant female presence, someone they can trust." Marcus stayed silent for a moment, watching Rachel finish sewing the button. There was something deeply comforting about her presence, a tranquility he hadn't felt in a long time. "Rachel, do you have a boyfriend? Someone who'll miss you?" She shook her head. "I have no one." "And you?" "The children mentioned some women who've passed through here." Marcus sighed. "I've tried dating a few times over the years. It never worked out. I think people get scared of the responsibility. Or maybe you just haven't found the right person yet." "Perhaps. But for now, my priority is the children. They've already suffered one loss. I can't keep bringing people into their lives if I'm not certain." "That seems wise," Rachel agreed. "They need stability right now." "Rachel, can I ask you, do you plan to date someday, remarry?" Rachel stopped sewing again. "I honestly don't know. I still feel married sometimes. It's strange. My husband is gone, but the love I feel for him didn't leave with him." "I understand," said Marcus, and he truly did. "What about you? Do you still feel that way about your wife?" Marcus considered the question. "It's complicated. Jennifer left me, chose to leave. It's different from losing someone to an accident. Sometimes I feel angry, sometimes sad, sometimes relieved. It's confusing." "That must be really difficult," Rachel said gently. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. "Well, I think I'll head to bed," Rachel finally said, putting away her needle and thread. "Thanks for the conversation." "Thank you." It's been a while since I've talked to an adult without having to explain why Daniel hit Christopher, or why Lily is crying. Rachel laughed. It'll be a pleasure to share that responsibility with you. After she went upstairs, Marcus stayed in the kitchen a while longer. For the first time in 3 years, he felt hope. Hope that his children could have a more stable life. Hope that he himself might find some peace. The next morning, Marcus woke to the smell of fresh coffee and grilled bread. He went down to the kitchen and found Rachel preparing breakfast, with the children already washed and dressed at the table. "Good morning, Dad," they all chorused. "Good morning. Wow, what's this organization?" "Mrs. Rachel said whoever woke up on time would get grilled bread with butter," explained Emily Grace. Marcus looked at Rachel with admiration. In less than 24 hours, she had managed to establish a routine he'd been trying to create for years. "Mrs. Rachel, are you magic?" asked Sophia, her mouth full of bread. "No, sweetheart. I just believe everything gets better when we do things together and organized." During breakfast, Marcus watched how Rachel interacted with each child individually. She asked Emily Grace about her history test, reminded Nathan to pack his math book, praised Ethan for the drawing he'd made in his art notebook, separated the twins when they started fighting over the last piece of bread, combed Sophia's hair, and cut Lily's sandwich into smaller pieces. Every gesture was natural, caring but not intrusive. She was finding her place in the family without forcing it, without trying to be something she wasn't. "Dad, can we come home early from school today?" asked Nathan. "Why?" "Mrs. Rachel promised she'd teach us how to make caramel popcorn." Marcus looked at Rachel, who gave a subtle smile. "If your father doesn't mind." "Of course not. Actually, caramel popcorn is my favorite too." "Then we'll make lots," declared Christopher, clapping his hands. After taking the children to school, Marcus returned home and found Rachel washing the breakfast dishes. "Rachel, you don't have to make everything perfect on the first day," he said, picking up a towel to help dry. "It's not about perfection, it's about care. When we take care of things with care, they become better." "Where did you get so much wisdom?" "From suffering," she replied simply. "When we lose everything, we learn to value the small gestures." Marcus fell silent, impressed by this woman's profound simplicity. "Marcus, can I ask you a question?" "Of course. Why did you never go after your wife, to try to understand why she left?" The question caught Marcus off guard. I've thought about that many times, but she made it very clear in the note that she didn't want this life anymore. How can I force someone to stay?" "I'm not saying to force. I'm saying to understand. Sometimes people leave for reasons other than the obvious ones." "What kind of reasons?" "Depression, fear, family pressure, problems that even she doesn't fully understand. People don't abandon entire families on a whim." Marcus had never thought of it that way. He always assumed Jennifer left because she couldn't handle the responsibility anymore, because she had grown tired of him and the children. "Do you think I should try to look for her?" "I think you should try to understand, if only to find peace with yourself and to be able to answer the children's questions when they grow up." The children don't ask about her. They don't ask because they see you suffer when the subject comes up, but they think about it, especially Emily Grace. Marcus realized that Rachel in just one day had noticed things he had missed for years. "Emily Grace talks to me," he said defensively. "She talks about her siblings, about school, about responsibilities. But when was the last time you talked about her feelings regarding her mother's departure?" Marcus realized he couldn't remember. Emily Grace had taken on so much responsibility that he had started treating her like an adult, forgetting that she was still a teenager who needed to process her own emotions. "You're right," he admitted. "I don't know how to talk to her about it anymore. Maybe it's time to start." That afternoon, when he picked up the children from school, Marcus noticed how excited Emily Grace was to see Rachel in the kitchen, preparing the promised caramel popcorn. "Mrs. Rachel, you remembered." "Of course I remembered. A promise is a promise." Once again, the kitchen turned into a controlled party. Rachel taught each child how to stir the caramel popcorn, explaining the right sugar consistency, how not to let it burn, how to spread it evenly. "My mum used to make caramel popcorn too," Ethan suddenly commented. Everyone fell silent, as always happened when someone mentioned Jennifer, but Rachel kept stirring the popcorn normally. "She must have taught you many good things," she said. "She did. She used to sing while cooking," Sophia said timidly. "How beautiful. Do you remember any songs?" The children started talking all at once about the songs Jennifer used to sing. Marcus watched, surprised, how Rachel managed to get them to talk about their mother naturally, without excessive sadness, just with fond longing. "Daddy, why did Mommy leave?" Lily suddenly asked. The question Marcus feared most. He looked at Rachel, who nodded encouragingly. "Lily, sometimes people need to leave for reasons they don't fully understand themselves. That doesn't mean she doesn't love you. But if she loved us, why didn't she stay?" Marcus sighed. "Sometimes love isn't enough to solve all problems. Sometimes people get very sad and confused and think leaving is the best thing to do." "Was she sad?" Daniel asked. Marcus thought about the last weeks before Jennifer left. She really did seem sad, distant, but he was so busy with the ranch and the children that he hadn't paid enough attention. "Yes," he admitted. "She was sad, and I didn't know how to help." Emily Grace, who had been quiet until then, spoke. "Dad, it's not your fault." "What do you mean?" "I saw when you tried to talk to her. She didn't want to talk. She just cried and said everything was fine. But she was lying." Marcus felt his heart tighten. Emily Grace, at 13 years old at the time, had noticed things he hadn't seen. "Emily Grace, why did you never tell me this?" "Because you were already too sad. I didn't want to make you even sadder." Marcus looked at his oldest daughter and realized how she had carried a weight that wasn't hers. Rachel approached and put her hand on Emily Grace's shoulder. "Emily Grace, you've been very brave all these years, but now you don't have to carry everything alone." Emily Grace looked at Rachel with eyes full of tears. "It's just that I'm afraid Dad will leave too if things get too hard." Marcus dropped everything and hugged his daughter. "Emily Grace, I will never, ever abandon you all. Never. No matter how difficult it gets. Promise?" "I promise by everything that is most sacred." The moment was broken by the twins shouting that the popcorn was burning. Rachel ran to save the popcorn, and soon everyone was laughing at the commotion. But Marcus realized that something important had happened. The children had spoken about Jennifer openly, and Emily Grace had revealed fears she had carried for years. And all of this had happened naturally, thanks to Rachel's reassuring presence. That night, after the children had fallen asleep, Marcus and Rachel sat on the porch to talk. "Thank you for what you did today," he said. "What did I do?" "You let the children talk about their mother without drama, without excessive sadness. I always froze when the subject came up. They needed to talk, and you needed to listen. Emily Grace carried too much weight for her age. She did, but she is strong, and now you can talk about it." Marcus was silent for a moment. "Rachel, you said this morning that I should try to understand why Jennifer left. How would I do that? Didn't she have family in the area? Friends who might know something?" Marcus thought. "Her mother lives in Dallas, but we never got along. She always thought Jennifer had married below her worth. Even so, maybe she knows something. What if I find out things I don't want to know?" "Marcus, you're already suffering from not knowing. Maybe it's better to suffer with the truth." Marcus knew she was right. For 3 years, he had lived with unanswered questions, imagining scenarios, blaming himself for things that might not even be his fault. "Do you think the children would be okay if I traveled for a weekend to Dallas? I think they'd be fine with me, and I think they deserve to have their father at peace." The next morning, Marcus called his mother-in-law. It was a tense conversation. Mrs. Margaret had always been cold to him, but she agreed to see him the following weekend. During the week, Rachel continued to win her place in the family naturally. She established routines that worked, invented educational games, helped with homework, and still found time to cook meals that the children loved. Marcus watched everything with a mix of gratitude and something more that he couldn't identify. Rachel wasn't just an efficient employee. She truly cared about the children, and they were flourishing under her care. On Friday evening, while packing a small bag for the trip, Marcus was nervous. "Dad, are you really coming back?" asked Lily, clinging to his leg. "Of course I am, sweetie. It's just a weekend." "What if Grandma says bad things about us?" Marcus knelt down to her level. "Lily, nothing anyone says will change the love I feel for you all. Nothing." Emily Grace appeared in the bedroom doorway. "Dad, can I talk to you?" Marcus sat on the bed and motioned for her to sit too. "I wanted you to know that I don't blame you for Mom leaving." "Emily, let me finish. I was older at the time. I remember more things. Mom had been acting strange for months before she left. She would cry in secret, didn't want to play with us anymore, would stare into space. You'd try to talk, try to help, but she always said everything was fine." Marcus felt his eyes filling with tears. "Why did you never tell me these things?" "Because I was afraid you'd get too sad and leave too." "Emily Grace, my love, I'm never leaving. And now we have Rachel to help us. I like her, Dad. She's different from the others." "Different how?" "She doesn't try to be our mother, she just is here, and that's good." Marcus hugged his daughter, realizing once again how wise she was for her age. On Saturday morning, Marcus left early for Dallas. The children stood on the porch waving until the pickup truck disappeared down the dirt road. The trip to Dallas took 3 hours. Marcus arrived at his mother-in-law's house at noon. It was a large, well-kept house in the city center. Mrs. Margaret received him in the living room, formal as always. "Marcus, you're looking well." "Thank you, Mrs. Margaret, you too." They sat in the room decorated with antique furniture and family photographs. Marcus noticed there were still pictures of him and Jennifer on the shelf. "So, you said on the phone you wanted to talk about Jennifer." "Yes, I need to understand why she left, for the children and for myself." Mrs. Margaret sighed deeply. "Marcus, there are things Jennifer never told you." "What kind of things?" "About her family, about pressures she faced." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "What pressures?" Mrs. Margaret stood and went to the window. "Marcus, you know I never approved of your marriage. I thought Jennifer deserved more." "I know that. But what you don't know is that I never stopped telling her that. Even after the wedding, even after the children." Marcus felt a wave of anger. "You kept filling Jennifer's head? I thought I was protecting my daughter. Told her she was too young when she married, that she hadn't seen the world, that she could have an easier life." "And she believed that?" Mrs. Margaret turned to face him. "Marcus, Jennifer loved you. I never doubted that. But she was also exhausted. 7 children in just a few years, country life, little money. And I kept telling her she didn't have to live like that." Marcus felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "You convinced my wife to leave me?" "Not exactly. But I offered alternatives. Said she could come live here, that I'd help with the children, that she could study, work. And she considered that?" "She did. She was torn for months. Loved you and the children, but also felt trapped, without prospects." Marcus stood and began pacing the room. All his assumptions about Jennifer having grown tired of him were crumbling. "Why didn't she talk to me about this?" "Because she knew you'd try to convince her to stay. And she didn't want to make a decision influenced by guilt." "So she chose to just leave?" Mrs. Margaret remained silent for a moment. "Marcus, do you want the full truth?" "I do." "Jennifer didn't come here when she left your house." Marcus stopped pacing. "What do you mean?" "She showed up here 3 days after leaving, but said she wasn't staying. Said she'd realized the problem wasn't you or the children. The problem was her." "She said that?" "She did. Cried a lot. Said she loved you all, but couldn't be the person you needed anymore. That she felt she was failing as a mother and as a wife." Marcus felt his legs weaken. He sat down again. "And where did she go?" "To Texas. Said she was going to try to find herself, understand what she wanted from life. Promised that when she was better she'd come back to talk to you and the children." "And did she come back?" "No. The last news I had from her was 1.5 years ago. She was in therapy, working as a sales clerk in a store. She said she still didn't feel ready to come back. Marcus fell silent, processing all this information. Jennifer hadn't left because she didn't love them. She had left because she was lost, confused, influenced by her mother's words and her own insecurities. "Mrs. Margaret, do you have her address?" "Marcus, please, I'm not going after her to force anything. I just want to talk. The children deserve to know the truth." Mrs. Margaret hesitated, then went to a drawer and took out a piece of paper. "It's the last address I have, but I don't know if she still lives there." Marcus took the paper with trembling hands. "Thank you." "Marcus, do you hate me now?" Marcus looked at his mother-in-law and realized she was suffering too. "No, Mrs. Margaret. I think you did what you thought was best for your daughter. I just wish you had thought about the consequences for the children. I think about my grandchildren every day. How are they?" Marcus spent the next hour telling her about each child, about how Emily Grace had taken on too many responsibilities, about how the little ones still asked about their mother, about how he himself had gotten lost, trying to be both father and mother. "Did you hire a nanny?" asked Mrs. Margaret. "A housekeeper, a very special woman named Rachel." "Did the children like her?" "They loved her. For the first time in 3 years, I feel like my house has become a home again." Mrs. Margaret smiled for the first time since he arrived. "I'm glad. The children deserve stability." Marcus stayed another hour at his mother-in-law's house, looking at old photos of Jennifer and the children when they were younger. Mrs. Margaret told stories about her daughter's childhood, helping him understand her personality better. "Marcus, if you find Jennifer, tell her I'm sorry for putting doubts in her head, for not supporting your marriage." "I will tell her." On the way back home, Marcus drove lost in thought. Now that he knew the truth, everything became more complicated. Jennifer hadn't left because she didn't love the family. She had left because she was lost, because she couldn't handle her own insecurities and external pressures. This changed everything. It changed the guilt he felt. It changed the explanations he could give the children. It changed his own view of the future. When he got home, it was already night. The lights were on in the kitchen, and he could hear laughter inside. He entered through the back door and found Rachel and the 7 children making popcorn in a pan all covered in flour. "Dad!" they all shouted at once, running to hug him. Marcus knelt and opened his arms, letting all the children pile on top of him. He felt his heart warm with so much love. "I missed you too," he said, kissing each little head. "Dad, Mrs. Rachel taught us how to make bread," said Christopher excitedly. "And she let us watch a movie until later," added Daniel. "And she told bedtime stories," said Lily. Marcus looked at Rachel, who was watching the scene with a discreet smile. "Thank you for taking care of them." "You're welcome. We had a lot of fun." After the children went to bed, Marcus and Rachel sat in the kitchen to talk. He told her everything he had discovered about Jennifer. "So she didn't leave because she didn't love you," said Rachel when he finished. "No, she left because she was lost and confused." "And now? Are you going to look for her?" Marcus thought about the question. "I don't know. On one hand, I want the children to know the truth. On the other, I don't know if it's worth stirring everything up again. Marcus, can I give an opinion?" "Of course. I think you should at least try to talk to her, even if it's by phone, even if it's just so she knows you're all right, that you understand why she left. What if she wants to come back? What if she does?" Marcus realized that question scared him more than it should, not from the prospect of having Jennifer back, but from the prospect of how it would affect the new dynamic that had been established at home. It would be complicated, he admitted, because of the children. That too, but mainly because... Marcus stopped, realizing what he was about to say. "Because of what?" asked Rachel gently. Marcus looked at her, sitting there in his kitchen, her hair slightly messy after a day of caring for 7 children, with flour still stuck to her apron, and realized something that frightened him. He was falling in love with Rachel. "It's nothing," he lied. "It's just a lot to process." Rachel studied him for a moment but didn't press further. "Well, I think I'll go to sleep. Tomorrow is Sunday, but I promised the children we'd have a picnic if the weather was nice." "Rachel, you don't have to work on Sundays. It's your day off." "It's not work when we do it for pleasure," she said simply. After she went upstairs, Marcus sat in the kitchen thinking about the mess his life had become. A week ago, his biggest problem was finding someone to help with the children. Now he had discovered the truth about Jennifer's departure, was falling in love with the nanny, and didn't know how to handle either situation. On Sunday morning, Marcus woke to the sound of laughter coming from the kitchen. He went down and found Rachel and the children preparing sandwiches for the promised picnic. "Good morning, sleepyhead," said Emily Grace, teasing him. "Good morning, family. What time did you all wake up?" "The children woke up early because they were excited about the picnic," explained Rachel. "So we decided to make a special breakfast." The table was set with fruits, homemade breads, juices, and even flowers from the garden in an improvised vase. "Wow, what a feast," said Marcus, genuinely impressed. During breakfast, the children excitedly talked about the picnic plans. They wanted to go to the creek bank at the edge of the property, where there was a large tree that provided shade. "Dad, are you coming with us?" asked Ethan. Marcus looked at Rachel, who nodded encouragingly. "Of course I am. I wouldn't miss it for anything." The picnic was magical. They spread blankets in the shade of the tree. The children played in the creek water. Rachel taught games she knew from her childhood, and Marcus participated in everything with the lightest heart he had felt in years. Watching Rachel play with the children, seeing how they laughed and had fun, Marcus realized something important. His children were happy again. Truly happy, not just surviving. "Mrs. Rachel, are you going to marry Dad?" asked Lily suddenly, with the frankness typical of young children. Everyone fell silent. Marcus felt his face blush, and Rachel seemed equally surprised. "Lily, what kind of question is that?" said Emily Grace, mortified. "It's just that you two talk in the kitchen like my grandma used to with my grandpa," the girl explained innocently. Rachel recovered first. "Lily, your father and I are friends. I work here and really enjoy taking care of all of you." "But do you like Dad?" "Yes, I do. He's a very good person." "And you, Dad? Do you like Mrs. Rachel?" the girl insisted. Marcus looked at Rachel, who was watching him curiously. "Of course I do. Rachel is very special." The other children watched the conversation intently, as if they were watching an interesting television show. "Then why don't you get married?" asked Christopher. "Christopher, things aren't that simple," explained Marcus. "Why not?" Daniel wanted to know. Marcus realized he was entering complicated territory. "Well, people need to know each other very well before making important decisions like marriage." "You've known each other for a week," said Nathan, with the irrefutable logic of pre-teens. "A week isn't much time," said Rachel diplomatically. "My grandpa said he married my grandma after 3 weeks," Sophia informed. Marcus and Rachel exchanged glances, somewhat amused, somewhat embarrassed by the conversation. "Well, how about we change the subject?" suggested Marcus. "Dad, you're red," observed Ethan. "It's the sun," lied Marcus. The children laughed and finally got distracted with other things. But Marcus noticed that Rachel became quieter for the rest of the day. That night, after the children fell asleep, Marcus went up to knock on Rachel's door. "Come in," she said. Marcus opened the door and found her sitting on the bed reading a book. "Sorry to bother you. I wanted to talk about today." "There's nothing to talk about. Children say things without thinking." "Rachel, can I be honest?" She closed the book and looked at him carefully. "I like you. A lot. More than I should like a nanny." Rachel stayed silent for a moment. "Marcus, let me finish. I know it's complicated, that you work here, that there are the children involved, but I can't pretend I don't feel anything. And your wife. You gave me the courage to find out the truth about Jennifer. Now I know she left because she was lost, not because she didn't love us. But that doesn't change the fact that she left. It doesn't change the fact that I've lived 3 years alone, trying to rebuild my life." Rachel got up and went to the window. "Marcus, I feel something too. It would be a lie to say I don't." Marcus felt his heart speed up. "You do?" "I do. But that doesn't mean we can act on these feelings." "Why not?" "Because it's too complicated. Because I work for you. Because your daughters have already become attached to me. Because if it goes wrong, they're the ones who will suffer. Marcus approached the window. And if it doesn't go wrong? Marcus, you haven't even properly processed the information about Jennifer. How can you be sure of what you feel for me? Because when I look at you, I don't just see someone who takes care of my daughters. I see a companion, someone who understands my world, someone who makes my house feel like a home. Rachel turned to face him, and Marcus saw tears in her eyes. Marcus, you don't understand. I can't fall in love again. I can't risk losing another family. You won't lose them. You can't promise that. Marcus saw the fear in her eyes and understood. Rachel had lost everything once. The prospect of getting emotionally involved and risking losing again was terrifying. Rachel, I understand your fear, but we can't live in fear forever. I can. It's safer. Safer, but not happier. They stayed silent for a long moment, looking at each other. Marcus, I need you to understand one thing. If you look for Jennifer and find out you still love her, or if she wants to come back, I'll leave. I won't stand in the way of a family reuniting. Rachel, no, let me finish. I'm saying this now to be clear. I can take care of your daughters, I can be your friend, but I can't be a second choice. Marcus moved closer to her. You wouldn't be a second choice. You'd be the first choice I'd make consciously. What does that mean? It means that when I married Jennifer, I was young, inexperienced. I thought love was just passion and dreams. Now I know that love is companionship, understanding, building something together day by day. Rachel looked at him with an intense expression. And you think we have that? I think we could have it, if you wanted to try. Rachel stayed silent for a long time. Marcus, you need to resolve the situation with Jennifer before anything else. You need to be absolutely sure about what you want. And if I'm sure I want you, then we'll talk again. Marcus nodded, understanding that Rachel needed assurances he couldn't give yet. Okay, I'll resolve the matter with Jennifer first. But I want you to know that what I feel for you is real. I know. And what I feel for you is real too. That's exactly why I need you to be sure. Marcus said goodbye and went down to his room with a troubled heart. Now he had an extra motivation to resolve the situation with Jennifer, not just for the children, but also for Rachel, and for the possibility of a future he didn't even know he wanted. During the following week, Marcus tried to find more information about Jennifer. He called the address his mother-in-law had given him, but discovered she had moved 6 months ago. He got the phone number of the place where she worked, but was told she had quit. With every lead that went nowhere, Marcus grew more frustrated. How do you find someone who clearly doesn't want to be found? Rachel noticed his anxiety, but kept a respectful distance. She continued caring for the children with affection, but avoided more intimate conversations with him. Dad, are you worried about something? Asked Emily Grace on Wednesday during dinner. I'm trying to sort out some matters, sweetie. Does it have to do with Mom? Marcus hesitated. He had decided not to tell the children about his conversation with their grandmother until he had more information. Maybe. But don't worry about it. Dad, said Emily Grace seriously, if Mom comes back, will Mrs. Rachel leave? The question caught Marcus off guard. That was exactly what he feared the children were thinking. Why are you thinking about that? Because we see you two have been acting strange this week, said Nathan, and we don't want Mrs. Rachel to leave. Marcus looked at Rachel, who seemed equally surprised by the children's observation. Kids, you don't need to worry about these things, said Rachel. But we do worry, said Sophia. We like you. And I like you all very much too, Rachel replied, emotion in her voice. So you won't leave? Asked Lily. Rachel looked at Marcus, clearly unsure how to respond. Mrs. Rachel isn't going anywhere, said Marcus firmly, not without talking to all of us first. The children seemed relieved, but Marcus realized he had created an expectation he might not be able to fulfill. That evening, Rachel sought him out on the porch. Marcus, you can't make promises for me. I know, but I couldn't let the children worry. What if you find Jennifer? What if she wants to come back? Then we'll deal with the situation when it happens. Marcus, you're being naive. If Jennifer comes back, you won't be able to simply ignore the history you built together. You're right. Maybe I won't be able to. Rachel sat beside him on the porch swing. That's why I need you to understand that I can't wait for you indefinitely. What do you mean? I mean that if in 1 month you still haven't resolved this situation, I'll look for another job. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Rachel. No. Let me explain. It's not because I don't care about you or the children. It's because I can't live with this uncertainty. I've already had too much uncertainty in my life. Marcus understood. Rachel had lost everything suddenly once before. She didn't want to live expecting to lose everything again. 1 month, he repeated. 1 month. And if I resolve the situation with Jennifer in that time, would you consider us? Rachel looked him in the eyes. I would consider it. Marcus nodded. 1 month. He had 1 month to find Jennifer, talk to her, resolve the past, and define the future. The next day, Marcus made a drastic decision. He took the address he had in Texas and decided to go there personally. If Jennifer was no longer at that location, someone might have information about where she had gone. He discussed the trip with Rachel, and she agreed to stay with the children over the weekend. Dad, why are you going to Texas? Asked Emily Grace. Marcus decided to be honest. I'm going to try to find your mother. There was complete silence in the kitchen. The 7 children looked at him with expressions ranging from surprise to anxiety. Find her for what? Asked Nathan. To talk, to understand why she left, so you can have the answers you deserve. What if she wants to come back? Asked Emily Grace, voicing everyone's fear. Marcus looked at each of his children. I don't know what will happen, kids, but I know you deserve to know the truth about your mother. Dad, said Ethan timidly, if Mom comes back, will Mrs. Rachel leave? That's something we'll have to discuss if it happens. Lily started crying. I don't want Mrs. Rachel to leave. Rachel approached and picked up the girl. Lily, don't worry about that now, okay? But I'm scared, sobbed the girl. Marcus felt his heart break. His children were being forced to deal with possibilities and changes that shouldn't be their concern. Listen, he said, kneeling to be at the children's eye level. No matter what happens, you will always be my priority. Always. And any decision I make will be thinking about what's best for you. Promise? Asked Daniel. I promise. Emily Grace, always the most mature, spoke. Dad, we understand you need to do this. Just don't take too long to decide things, okay? Marcus hugged all his children, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. On Friday morning, Marcus left for Texas. The 4-hour trip gave him time to think about everything that had changed in his life in recent weeks. The address he had was for a modest building in the east side of the city. Marcus went up to the apartment and knocked on the door, not knowing what he expected to find. A middle-aged woman opened the door. Can I help you? Good afternoon. I'm looking for Jennifer Thompson. I believe she lived here. The woman looked at him suspiciously. And you are Marcus Thompson, her husband. The woman's expression changed completely. Oh my God. Please, come in. Marcus entered the small but well-kept apartment. The woman introduced herself as Sandra, the property owner. Jennifer lived here for almost 2 years, Sandra explained. She was an excellent tenant, very discreet, very responsible. And where is she now? Sandra hesitated. Look, Marcus, may I call you that? Jennifer told me a bit of her story. I know she has children, that you were married. Yes. She moved because she got a better job. In a small town, actually. Said it was time to go back to her roots. Marcus felt his heart race. Which town? I don't remember the exact name, but it was near where you lived. She said she wanted to be close to her daughters, but still didn't feel ready to come home. Did she talk about the children? Sandra smiled. She talked about them a lot, carried their photos in her wallet, knew their ages by heart, told stories. It was obvious she missed them terribly. Marcus felt his eyes fill with tears. Then why didn't she come back? Fear, Sandra said simply. She thought she had hurt you all too much, that maybe it was better to leave things as they were. She said that? Several times, especially in recent months. I think she was mentally preparing herself to return. Marcus fell silent, processing this information. Marcus, may I give you some advice? Of course. Jennifer is a good person who went through a very difficult time. She didn't leave home out of malice or lack of love. She left because she was lost. But during her time here, I could see she was finding herself again. Do you have any way to contact her? Sandra went to a drawer and took out a piece of paper. I have a phone number, but I don't know if it still works. Marcus took the paper with trembling hands. He finally had a concrete lead. Thank you. Thank you so much. Marcus, be kind to her, and be kind to yourself too. Marcus returned home on Saturday evening, arriving just in time for dinner. The children ran to hug him, eager for news. So, Dad? Did you find her? Asked Emily Grace. I didn't find her, but I got important information. Marcus told everything he had discovered, explaining that Jennifer had lived in Texas, that she spoke of her daughters with longing, that she had gotten a job in a nearby town. So she didn't forget about us, said Sophia with relief. She never forgot. The woman I spoke with said Jennifer carried photos of you all and talked about you constantly. And now? Asked Nathan. Now I'll try calling the number I got. I'll talk to her. Rachel, who had remained quiet throughout the conversation, got up from the table. I'll finish cleaning the kitchen. Marcus noticed she was intentionally stepping back, giving him and the children space to deal with the situation. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. That night after the children went to sleep, Marcus sat in the kitchen staring at the paper with Jennifer's phone number. It was a cell number. All he had to do was dial, and he'd finally speak with her after 3 years. But now that he had the number in his hand, he felt afraid. Afraid of what she would say, afraid of what he would feel, afraid of how it would affect the children and his relationship with Rachel. Haven't you called yet? Asked Rachel, appearing in the kitchen. Not yet. Why? Marcus sighed. Fear. Rachel sat at the table with him. Fear of what? Everything. What she'll say, how I'll react, how it will affect the children, how it will affect you. Marcus, you need to make this call regardless of me. I know, but I can't pretend you're not important in this story. Rachel remained silent for a moment. What do you hope will happen when you call? I don't know. Maybe she'll hang up when she hears my voice. Maybe she'll want to talk. Maybe she'll want to come back. And if she wants to come back, Marcus looked at Rachel. Honestly, I don't know what I feel for her anymore. 3 years is a long time. A lot has changed. Especially you. Especially me. And especially after you came here. Rachel smiled sadly. Marcus, make the call, but do it for yourself and the children, not for me. Marcus picked up the phone and dialed the number. His heart was beating so hard he could hear it. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Hello? The voice was the same, but with a different tone, more mature, more calm. Jennifer? It's Marcus. There was complete silence on the other end. Marcus could hear her breathing. Marcus, she finally said, her voice choked. Hi, Jennifer. Can we talk? How did you get my number? I looked for you. I spoke with your mother, went to Texas, found Sandra. You looked for me. I did. The children deserve answers, Jennifer, and so do I. There was another long silence. How are they? Marcus heard the emotion in her voice. They're fine, they've grown so much. Emily Grace is in her junior year of high school. The twins are in 3rd grade. Lily was 2 when you left. Now she's 5 and quite the chatterbox. Marcus heard Jennifer crying on the other end of the line. Do they ask about me? They used to. They ask less now, but they still do. Marcus, I'm so sorry. Really sorry. Jennifer, I spoke with your mother. I know about the pressures you faced, about the doubts she put in your head. She told you. She did. And she helped me understand why you left. Marcus, I didn't leave because I didn't love you all. I left because you were lost. I understand. Jennifer cried harder. Do you forgive me? Marcus thought about the question. Jennifer, I'm not angry with you. I have many questions. I have hurt feelings. I have sadness. But I'm not angry. And the girls, do they hate me? They love you. They always have, but they were hurt too. I know I hurt everyone. Jennifer, where are you now? In Austin. I got a job at a school. I work in administration. Marcus realized it was relatively close, about 2 hours away. Do you want to see the children? There was a long silence. Marcus, I really do. But I'm scared. Scared of what? That they won't forgive me. Of causing more disruption in your lives. Of not being able to be the mother they deserve. Jennifer, they are your daughters. You will always be their mother. But have you moved on? Is there someone? Marcus looked at Rachel, who had stepped away to give him privacy, but was still in the kitchen. It's complicated, he replied. Marcus, I don't want to mess up your life if you're happy. Jennifer, do you want to talk in person? I think there's a lot we need to sort out face to face. Yes, I think so. How about next Saturday? You can come here or I can come to Austin. I'd rather go there. I want to see the house, see how the girls are doing. All right, I'll prepare the children. Marcus, yes? Thank you for reaching out to me, for not giving up. After hanging up, Marcus sat in silence for a long time. Rachel approached and sat beside him. How did it go? Confusing, sad, necessary. Does she want to come back? She wants to see the children. We didn't talk about the rest. And you? What did you feel hearing her voice? Marcus thought carefully about his answer. I felt relief. That she's okay, that she's alive. Sadness for the lost time, compassion for the hardships she's been through. And love. Affection. A lot of affection. But I don't know if it's romantic love or just the memory of what we had. Rachel nodded. And when is she coming? Next Saturday. So you have a week to prepare the children. And to prepare yourself too. Rachel. Marcus, don't say anything now. Wait until you see her. Then you can think clearly. The next morning, Sunday, Marcus gathered the 7 children in the living room to give them the news. I spoke with your mother yesterday. There was complete silence. All 7 children looked at him with full attention. How is she? Asked Emily Grace. She's fine. She lives in Austin, works at a school, and she really wants to see you. When? Asked Nathan. Next Saturday. She's coming here. The reactions were varied. Lily started crying. Whether from joy or fear, it wasn't clear. The twins looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Sophia hid behind Emily Grace. Ethan became very serious. Nathan seemed angry. Emily Grace took on her role as leader. And then? Is she leaving again? I don't know, sweetie. We'll see how the meeting goes. Dad, said Lily through tears, if Mum comes back, will Mrs. Rachel leave? Marcus looked at Rachel, who was standing in the kitchen doorway. Lily, let's take one thing at a time, okay? But I don't want Mrs. Rachel to leave, the girl insisted. Me neither, said Daniel. Me neither, repeated Christopher. Marcus realized he was facing a situation he hadn't anticipated. His children were torn between the joy of seeing their mother again and the fear of losing Rachel. Kids, Mrs. Rachel isn't leaving just because your mother is visiting. But what if Mom wants to come back forever? Insisted Nathan. Marcus sighed. Nathan, if that happens, we'll all talk together and decide what's the best way to handle the situation. Dad, I want to see Mom, said Emily Grace, but I also want Mrs. Rachel to stay. Marcus looked at Rachel, who seemed moved by the children's words. Let's see how things unfold, okay? For now, let's prepare to welcome your mother with care. During the week, Marcus noticed how anxious and confused the children were. Sometimes they seemed excited about the prospect of seeing their mother again. Other times they seemed worried about possible changes. Rachel maintained her normal routine, but Marcus could tell she was tense too. She avoided longer conversations with him and spent more time alone in her room at night. On Wednesday, Emily Grace approached Marcus for a private conversation. "Dad, can I tell you something?" "Of course, honey." "I want to see Mom, but I'm also angry with her." "Why?" "Because she abandoned us. Because you were sad. Because I had to become a mother to my siblings. Because Lily doesn't really remember her." Marcus hugged his daughter. "Emily Grace, it's normal to feel angry. You have every right to be mad. But I also feel guilty for being angry." "Why?" "Because she's my mother. I should just be happy to see her." "Emily Grace, you can feel many things at the same time. You can be happy and angry and confused all at once." "And you, Dad? How are you feeling?" Marcus thought about the question. "The same as you, many things at once. Dad, do you still love Mom?" "I'll always love your mother, Emily Grace, but I don't know if I'm still in love with her." "And Mrs. Rachel? Do you love her?" Marcus hesitated. "I think so." "Does she love you too?" "I don't know. We'll have to wait and see." "Dad, if you have to choose between Mom and Mrs. Rachel, who will you choose?" The question caught Marcus off guard. "Emily Grace, I hope I don't have to choose." "But if you do?" Marcus looked at his eldest daughter, impressed once again by her maturity. "Emily Grace, any decision I make will be thinking about what's best for you all. And for you too?" "That too. Dad, you deserve to be happy. And so do we." On Friday night, the eve of Jennifer's visit, Marcus could barely sleep. He got up several times, drank water, tried to read, but nothing worked. At 2 in the morning, he went to the kitchen to warm up milk and found Rachel sitting at the table, also awake. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "No." Marcus warmed milk for both of them and sat at the table with her. "Afraid of tomorrow?" asked Rachel. "Very. And you?" "Me too." They sat in silence for a while, drinking warm milk in the dark kitchen. "Rachel, no matter what happens tomorrow, I want you to know that you've changed our lives." "Marcus, let me finish. You brought peace to this house, you brought joy to the children, you brought hope to me. That won't change, no matter what happens." Rachel looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Thank you. And I want you to know that what I feel for you is real. It's not neediness, it's not convenience, it's love. Marcus, don't make this harder than it already is. I just wanted you to know." Rachel reached across the table and touched his hand. "I love you too." It was the first time she had said it clearly. Marcus felt his heart race. "But sometimes love isn't enough," she continued. "Sometimes we have to think about what's best for everyone." "And what do you think is best?" "I think you need to figure that out. And I need to be prepared for any outcome." On Saturday morning, Marcus woke up to the children being more agitated than usual. Emily Grace was trying to organize everyone. Nathan was sulking. Ethan was talking non-stop from nerves. The twins were fighting. Sophia was clinging to Rachel and Lily was crying. "Dad, what time is Mom coming?" asked Emily Grace for the 10th time. "In the afternoon, around 3 o'clock." "What if she doesn't recognize us? We've changed a lot," worried Sophia. "She'll recognize you, sweetheart. A mother always recognizes her children." "What if she doesn't like us anymore?" asked Lily. Marcus knelt down and picked up his daughter. "Lily, your mother will always love you. Always." Rachel was quieter than usual, helping with the household chores, but avoiding joining the conversations about Jennifer. At noon, Marcus suggested they make a special lunch. "Let's cook something together that Mom liked." "Lasagna!" the twins shouted at the same time. "She made the best lasagna in the world." And so they spent the hours before the visit making lasagna, the whole family working together in the kitchen. Rachel helped, but Marcus noticed she was mentally preparing to distance herself. At 3:30 in the afternoon, they heard the sound of a car on the dirt road. Marcus looked out the window and saw a white Civic stopping in front of the house. "It's her," he said, feeling his heart race. The children ran to the living room window. Marcus saw Jennifer getting out of the car, standing in front of the house, taking a deep breath as if preparing herself. She looked different. Thinner, shorter hair, simpler clothes, but it was her. Marcus opened the door and went out onto the porch. Jennifer looked at him and smiled timidly. "Hi, Marcus." "Hi, Jennifer. Welcome back." They stood looking at each other for a moment, not quite knowing how to greet each other. Finally, she climbed the porch steps. "The house looks the same," she said, looking around. "Some things have changed, but the essence is the same. And the children. They're anxious to see you." As if they had heard, the 7 children appeared in the doorway. Jennifer put her hands to her face and began to cry. "My God, how you've all grown." Emily Grace was the first to approach. "Hi, Mom." "Emily Grace, you've become a beautiful young lady." Emily Grace threw herself into her mother's arms, and soon all the other children followed. There was a tangle of arms, tears, overlapping words, questions and answers all at once. Marcus watched the scene with a mix of emotions: joy at seeing his daughters reunited with their mother, sadness for the lost time, anxiety about the future. Rachel appeared in the doorway, observed the scene for a moment, and then discreetly withdrew. "Mommy, are you going away again?" asked Lily, clinging to Jennifer's skirt. "I don't know, my doll. We'll talk about that." Jennifer looked at Marcus over the children's heads, and he saw in her eyes a silent question: how to explain to 7 children that there were no ready answers. "How about we go inside and talk calmly?" suggested Marcus. They settled in the living room, Jennifer on the sofa with the younger children on her lap and the older ones around her. Marcus sat in the armchair opposite. "Mum, why did you leave?" Nathan asked, getting straight to the point. Jennifer took a deep breath. "Nathan, I was going through a very difficult time. I was sad, confused, and I thought leaving would be better for everyone." "But it wasn't," said Ethan. "It was worse." "I know, my love. It was the worst decision of my life." "Then why did it take you so long to come back?" asked Emily Grace. "Because I was ashamed. I was afraid you wouldn't forgive me. I was afraid of causing more problems." "Mommy," Sophia said timidly, "we always loved you." Jennifer began to cry again. "I always loved you too. Every single day. Not a day went by that I didn't." The questions continued for over an hour. Marcus watched in admiration as Jennifer answered each question with honesty and patience, as if trying to make up for 3 years of silence. During a pause in the conversation, Daniel asked, "Mum, do you know Mrs. Rachel?" "No, sweetie. Who is Mrs. Rachel?" All the children started talking at once about Rachel, how well she took care of them, how she made delicious food, how she helped with homework, how she told stories. Marcus saw Jennifer's expression change as the children spoke. She looked at him with a question in her eyes. "Mrs. Rachel is our housekeeper," explained Emily Grace. "She lives here and takes care of us when Dad is at work." "I see," said Jennifer, but Marcus noticed she had understood more than the words revealed. "Do you like her?" asked Jennifer. "Very much," all the children answered in chorus. "She's almost like a second mother," said Christopher innocently. There was an awkward silence. Marcus saw Jennifer trying to process the information that another woman had taken on a maternal role with her daughters. "Dad, can Mrs. Rachel meet Mommy?" asked Lily. Marcus looked at Jennifer, who nodded nervously. "Rachel," he called. Rachel appeared in the doorway of the living room with a cautious expression. "Jennifer, this is Rachel. Rachel, this is Jennifer, the children's mother." The 2 women looked at each other for a moment. Marcus held his breath. "Nice to meet you, Jennifer," said Rachel politely. "Nice to meet you, Rachel. Thank you for taking care of my daughters. They're wonderful children. They are indeed." There was a moment of silent tension between the 2 women. Marcus noticed that both were sizing each other up, trying to understand each one's place in that family. "Mrs. Rachel, sit here with us," requested Sophia, making room on the sofa. Rachel hesitated. "I think you want to be alone with your mum." "No, stay," insisted Daniel. "You're part of the family too." Marcus saw Jennifer register the child's comment. Rachel sat in a chair further away, clearly uncomfortable, but not wanting to disappoint the children. "How long has Rachel been working here?" asked Jennifer, trying to sound casual. 3 weeks, replied Marcus. "And you've already grown so attached to her?" Jennifer asked the children, with a touch of sadness in her voice. "She's really nice, Mom," explained Ethan. "And she doesn't get mad when we make a mess." And she makes sweet popcorn just like you used to, added Christopher. Marcus saw tears in Jennifer's eyes. Just like I used to? Pretty similar, corrected Daniel diplomatically. The afternoon continued with Jennifer trying to make up for 3 years of absence, listening about the children's school, friends, changes on the ranch. Rachel remained in the room out of politeness but clearly felt like an intruder. At dinner time, Jennifer complimented the lasagna. It's delicious. Who taught you how to make it? Mrs. Rachel, said Sophia. She said you liked lasagna, so we wanted to make it for you. Jennifer looked at Rachel with an expression Marcus couldn't interpret. After dinner, when the children were playing in the backyard, Jennifer, Marcus and Rachel were alone in the kitchen. Marcus, can I talk to you in private? Asked Jennifer. Marcus looked at Rachel, who stood up immediately. I'll take a walk. Excuse me. When Rachel left, Jennifer turned to Marcus. Marcus, you're in love with her. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Marcus was silent for a moment. Jennifer, no need to deny it. I see it in the way you look at her, how she looks at you, and the children adore her. It's complicated. I know, and it's probably my fault. Marcus sighed. Jennifer, why did you really come back? Because I finally feel strong enough to face the consequences of my choices, and because I wanted to know if there was still a place for me in your lives. And is there? I don't know. You tell me. Marcus looked out the window and saw Rachel sitting on the porch swing, alone, watching the sunset. Jennifer, I'll always love you. You're the mother of my daughters. We were happy for a long time. But I've changed. My life has changed. Because of her? Not just because of her. Because of everything that's happened these 3 years. Jennifer nodded sadly. Marcus, I didn't come here to disrupt your life. I came to make peace with the past and try to build a healthy relationship with the children. What about us? I think we're friends now. Parents who respect each other and want the best for their children. Marcus felt an immense relief. Jennifer, are you sure? I am. When I left here 3 years ago, I was in love with you but lost as a person. Today I've found myself, but I realize the romantic love I felt for you has turned into affection and respect. And the children? What are we going to do? I want to spend more time with them. I'll come visit them regularly. I want to be part of their lives, but I understand that their daily life is here, with you and with Rachel. Jennifer, Marcus, I see how they look at Rachel. I see how safe they feel with her. I won't take that away from them. Marcus felt his eyes fill with tears. Thank you. But I have one condition. What is it? If you're going to be with Rachel, marry her properly. Give the children stability. They've already been through too many changes. That night, after the children went to sleep and Jennifer settled into the guest room, Marcus looked for Rachel. He found her in the backyard, sitting on the back steps of the house. Rachel? Hi. Marcus sat down beside her. I talked with Jennifer. And? She doesn't want to come back to me. She wants to rebuild the relationship with the children, but as a friend, not as a wife. Rachel stayed silent. Rachel, did you hear what I said? I did. And? Rachel turned to look at him. Marcus, this changes nothing. What do you mean? You had a chance to get back with her, mother of your daughters, woman you loved for years. And she's the one who said no. This isn't you choosing to be with me. Marcus understood her point. Rachel, even if Jennifer wanted to come back, I wouldn't go back to her. How can you be sure? Because over the past 3 years, I've learned that love isn't just passion and shared history. Love is partnership in daily life. It's building something together. It's feeling at peace beside the person. And you feel at peace beside me? More peace than I've felt in my entire adult life. Rachel stayed silent for a long time. Marcus, I'm scared. Of what? Of falling completely in love and then losing everything again. Of giving myself to this family and then having to leave. Marcus took her hand. Rachel, I can't guarantee that nothing bad will happen in life, but I can guarantee that I will never abandon you like Jennifer abandoned me." "How can you guarantee that?" "Because I learned, in the most painful way possible, what it's like to be abandoned. I would never do that to someone I love." Rachel began to cry. "Marcus, I love you so much it hurts." "Then stay with me. Marry me. Help me raise these 7 crazy kids." "Marcus, Rachel, I know it's early. I know it's complicated. But I also know I'll never love anyone the way I love you." Rachel looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Would the children accept it? You heard them today. They love you. And Jennifer said, if I'm going to be with you, I have to marry you properly, to give the children stability." Rachel laughed through tears. "She said that?" "She did. She's smarter than I imagined." Marcus took both of Rachel's hands. "Rachel, will you marry me?" Rachel stayed silent for a moment that felt like an eternity. "I will," she said finally. Marcus kissed her, and it was as if all the pieces of his life finally fell into the right place. The next day, Sunday, Marcus gathered the whole family, including Jennifer, in the living room to make the announcement. "Kids, Rachel and I have something to tell you." All 7 children looked at them attentively. Jennifer smiled discreetly. "We're going to get married," said Marcus. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds, then was broken by shouts of joy, jumps, hugs, and lots of commotion. "Really?" shouted Emily Grace. "Really?" confirmed Rachel, laughing. "So you're going to be our real mom?" asked Lily. Rachel looked at Jennifer, who nodded encouragingly. "I'll be your stepmother. Your real mom is right here," said Rachel, pointing to Jennifer. "But you can be our second mom," said Daniel. "And the everyday mom," added Christopher. "That's right," said Jennifer, surprising everyone. "Every child deserves to have several people who love them." "Mom, aren't you sad?" asked Sophia. "I'm happy, my dear. Happy because you're going to have a complete and stable family." Nathan, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "When will the wedding be?" Marcus looked at Rachel. "How about next month? A simple wedding, here at the ranch." "Can I be the maid of honor?" asked Emily Grace. "All of you can be maids of honor," said Rachel. "And can I carry the rings?" asked Ethan. "Of course." The children spent the rest of the day planning the wedding, discussing flowers, food, music, and clothes. Marcus watched everything, amazed at how his life had changed in just a few weeks. Jennifer stayed 2 more days, taking the opportunity to reconnect with the children and help with the first wedding preparations. On the morning she left, she called Marcus and Rachel for a conversation. "Marcus, Rachel, I want you to know that I'm genuinely happy for you." "Thank you, Jennifer," said Rachel. "Rachel, you have a huge heart. I see how you love these children, how you take care of them. They're lucky to have you. They're wonderful children." "They are. And Marcus, you're lucky too. Rachel is exactly the kind of person you deserve." Marcus hugged his ex-wife. "Thank you for understanding. Marcus, I made many mistakes, but at least I can try to make things right now." Jennifer said goodbye to each child, promising to return for the wedding and continue visiting regularly. When her car disappeared down the dirt road, Marcus felt that one chapter had closed and another was beginning. The weeks that followed were filled with intense wedding preparations. Marcus and Rachel decided to have a simple ceremony at the ranch, with the children actively participating. Emily Grace took on the role of head organizer, making lists, coordinating tasks, and ensuring everything would be perfect. Nathan and Ethan took charge of decorating the backyard. The twins were responsible for the music. Sophia and Lily helped Rachel choose the flowers. Marcus hired a priest from the city to perform the ceremony and asked Mrs. Dorothy to help with the food. The entire rural community was invited. After all, they had followed the ups and downs of the Mitchell family. A week before the wedding, Marcus and Rachel had a serious conversation about the future. "Rachel, are you sure you want this? Marrying me means taking on 7 children at once." "Marcus, I'm not taking on 7 children. I'm gaining a family. It's different." "What if it doesn't work out? What if we can't handle everything? Then we'll figure it out together, like all families do." "Rachel, will you miss your independence?" "Marcus, I didn't have independence. I had loneliness. Now I have a purpose. On the eve of the wedding, Rachel was nervous. Emily Grace noticed and went to talk with her. "Mrs. Rachel, is everything okay?" "I'm nervous, Emily." "Why?" "What if I can't be a good stepmother? What if I make mistakes?" Emily Grace smiled. "Mrs. Rachel, you're already the best stepmother in the world, and you haven't even married yet." "What do you mean?" "You take care of us, love us, worry about us. Isn't that being a mom?" Rachel hugged the girl, moved. "Emily, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "You were the first to accept me here. That meant a lot to me. And you were the first to treat me like an older daughter, not like a second mum to my siblings. That meant a lot too." The wedding day dawned sunny and clear. Marcus woke up early, tidied the whole house and took care of the last details. The children were euphoric, running around in their party clothes. Rachel spent the morning getting ready with the girls. She wore a simple cream-colored dress she had bought in town, with natural flowers in her hair arranged by Sophia and Lily. The ceremony was set for 4 in the afternoon, in the backyard of the house, under the large tree where they used to have picnics. When the time came, Marcus was waiting on the porch, dressed in his best suit, accompanied by the boys. The priest was positioned under the tree. Emily Grace opened the door of the house and came out first, scattering rose petals along the path. Then came Sophia and Lily, also spreading flowers. Last came Rachel. Marcus felt his heart stop when he saw her. It wasn't just because of the dress or the flowers in her hair. It was because of the expression of serene happiness on her face, the way she smiled at the children, the peace she radiated. Rachel walked across the yard hand in hand with Lily, who had insisted on giving her away to Marcus. When she got close to him, Lily said solemnly, "Daddy, here is your bride." Marcus took Rachel's hand and they walked together to the priest. "Friends and family," the priest began, "we are here today to join Marcus and Rachel in marriage in the presence of the people they love most, these 7 wonderful children and this community that supports them." During the ceremony, Marcus and Rachel exchanged vows they had written themselves. Marcus promised to love, care for, and protect not only Rachel, but also the family they were building together. Rachel promised to be a companion, a loving mother and a partner in all moments. When the priest asked if anyone objected to the marriage, Christopher shouted, "I support it!" Everyone laughed, and the priest continued the ceremony with a smile. At the ring exchange, each child handed over a ring. They had insisted on taking an active part in the moment. "Marcus, do you take Rachel to be your wife?" asked the priest. "I do, with all my heart." "Rachel, do you take Marcus to be your husband?" "I do forever." "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Marcus, you may kiss the bride." When Marcus kissed Rachel, the 7 children cheered, clapped, and threw more flower petals into the air. The party that followed was simple but warm. Mrs. Dorothy had prepared a delicious feast, the neighbors brought more food, and there was music, dancing, and lots of joy. Marcus watched his new wife dancing with each of the children, talking with the guests, laughing and having fun, as if that family had been her whole life. During the party, Jennifer showed up unexpectedly, carrying gifts for everyone. "I wasn't going to miss the wedding of the best stepmother in the world," she said, hugging Rachel. The children were thrilled to see Jennifer, and Marcus was moved to see how his ex-wife interacted naturally with Rachel, without jealousy or resentment. "Jennifer, thank you for coming," said Rachel. "Thank you for taking care of my daughters as if they were your own." As the party was winding down and guests started to leave, the children insisted on having a family meeting. "Are we a real family now?" asked Lily. "We've always been a family," said Marcus. "Now we're a complete family." "Mrs. Rachel, Mother Rachel," said Daniel, trying out the new name. "Are you never going to leave?" "Never," promised Rachel. "You're stuck with me forever." "And you, Dad, are you never going to leave?" asked Christopher. "Never. We're a family now for the rest of our lives." Emily Grace raised her hand as if she were in school. "I'd like to make a speech." "Go ahead, daughter," said Marcus. "Dad, 3 years ago when Mom left, I thought our family was over. I thought you would be sad forever and that we would have to grow up without a real family." Marcus felt his eyes fill with tears. But then Mother Rachel came and everything changed. Our house became a home again. You started smiling again. We found happiness again. Emily Grace turned to Rachel. Mom Rachel, thank you for choosing our crazy family. Thank you for taking care of us as if we were your own children. You are my own children, said Rachel, her voice choked with emotion. Children of my heart. And Jennifer, continued Emily Grace, thank you for understanding that sometimes loving means letting go, and for coming back as a friend. Jennifer nodded, moved. And Dad, Emily Grace looked at Marcus, thank you for never giving up on us, for always putting us first, and for finding someone who loves us as much as you do. Marcus could no longer hold back his tears. He stood up and hugged his oldest daughter. Emily Grace, you taught me more about courage and responsibility than any adult I've ever known. Everyone hugged in a giant group embrace, with lots of crying, laughter, and declarations of love. When they finally separated, Lily asked the question on everyone's mind. And now? What's going to happen? Marcus looked around at his family, his wife, his 7 children, his ex-wife who was now a friend, and smiled. Now we're going to live happily ever after. Like in fairy tales? Asked Sophia. Better than in fairy tales, said Rachel, because it's real. And so, at St. Michael's Ranch, a family that had been broken came back together, but in a new and even stronger way. Marcus and Rachel discovered that sometimes love arrives when we least expect it, in ways we least expect, but always at the right time. The children grew up knowing they were loved by many people, by the father who never abandoned them, by the mother who found the courage to return as a friend, and by the stepmother who chose to love them as if they were her own. And everyone learned that family isn't just those we share blood with, but those we choose to love every day, through good times and bad, forever. 6 months after the wedding, Marcus woke up on a Sunday morning and found the kitchen full of laughter. Rachel was making pancakes with the 7 children, all covered in flour, all talking at once, all happy. He stopped at the kitchen door and watched the scene. His wife, 3 months pregnant with their first child together, laughing at the twins' antics. Emily Grace helping Lily flip a pancake. Nathan and Ethan arguing about soccer. Sophia telling a story she had made up. Good morning, family, he said. Dad? All the children shouted at once, running to hug him. Did you sleep well? Asked Rachel, receiving a good morning kiss. I did. I dreamed about all of this. About all of what? Asked Emily Grace. About you, about our family, about our life. Was it a good dream? Lily wanted to know. Marcus looked around the messy kitchen, full of people he loved, full of noise and life, and smiled. It was the best dream possible, and the best part is, it's real. End of story. And now we want to know what you thought of this touching story about second chances and true love. Do you think Marcus made the right decision? Do you believe Rachel was brave for accepting to care for 7 children? Tell us in the comments your opinion about this family that came back together in such a special way. If you liked the story, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that touch the heart.